Greetings, I'm Susan, and this is Three Times Ethical in Africa, a YouTube channel dedicated to exploring AI in Africa. I am a social information architect and the founder of Three Times Ethical, a bleeding edge technology firm that is advancing technology through deliberate values and positive behaviors. In today's video, I'll be reviewing a number of articles that support my belief that personal AI is the ultimate tool for the grassroots AI movement that's taking place in Africa and, well, as we'll find out today, also in India. So I am a brand partner for Personal AI, a full stack artificial intelligence platform that gives you unlimited memory, allowing you to train your own AI on a small language model, one that has its own API or endpoint, so that when it is well trained and well behaved, you can share your personal, professional, or brand wisdom, knowledge, or information with the world. Personal AI also provides access through native apps, including your browser, desktop, or mobile device. You can use your own AI as an agent, both internally on the Personal AI communication platform or externally in the online world as an agent embedded into a website or in other chats like Slack. Today, I'm going to explore the impact of AI in Africa by focusing on a review of 6 articles that I have carefully curated for you. And we'll take a look at these 6 articles. So you may ask yourself, why am I focused on Africa? Well, at least 3 reasons come to mind. Number one, my German ancestors, especially my German grandfather, great-great-grandfather, who was Bavarian and a doctor, made a number of visits to Africa, including Egypt and East Africa, that date back to the 1800s. The second reason is I married an African man from Ghana, from West Africa. And the third is Africans love education, but unfortunately, due to colonization, Africans have been trained in the European model of education for over the last 500 years. But before that, reaching back to the dawn of time, Africans learned through their own ways and through their own embodied experiences. So why does that matter? Well, training an AI is a hands-on experience. It's an embodied experience, arguably, and not one for the faint of heart. First, you have to overcome your fear of artificial intelligence and the idea that it is here to kill you or to destroy humanity, the doomsday scenario. Well, no, dear listeners, AI is not here to kill you, although it can be trained to do so, as we see with the killer drones in war zones like Gaza. The antidote, however, to being killed by an AI is to learn more about artificial intelligence, how it works, what its constraints and its limitations are, and then to train your own AI in order to cultivate right relationship with it, or as Indigenous peoples say, making kin with machines. So personal AI is not actually a SaaS product, contrary to popular belief. It's not a service. You don't just pay, subscribe, and get the actual service. Utilize it that way. It's actually a language model, a small language model, not a large one, an artificial intelligence model, which provides the foundation, called in this case a personal language model, which is a tool on which you can train your AI. So training an AI, requires time and energy, just as it takes time and energy to train a horse, for example. And if you follow I Am Mara on YouTube, the Kenyan travel commander, hey, whose masterclass I took late last year to learn how to launch a YouTube channel once again, you will see that Mara and his queen Rocio are currently training their new horses. So training anything is not for the weak of heart. It's a challenge to transfer knowledge from your brain to another entity, whether it's human or non-human. So hell, it's hard to communicate well at the best of times. So we've all experienced how quickly communications can break down, and we know that if not repaired, they can escalate up to the level of war. So in this Western culture, the one that dominates Turtle Island, also known as North America, the European process of learning to do a new thing well with all this ambiguity and trial and error, frustration and pain is not something that is embraced and championed. It's messy and it's hard, it's resisted, and the process of learning is largely hidden away. The Western method of learning a new thing is mostly through rote memory, in which you literally memorize what you've learned so that you can parrot it back in an exam, get your mark, and move on. This, ironically, is similar to how an AI learns, because it's not leveraging critical thinking, as that requires that you would actually take time to reflect on what you've learned and to question it deeply. Instead, personal AI is searching for word patterns in the data that you have saved to your memory bank. The lack of critical thinking in the dominant westernized world culture may be the main reason why there's been such a rapid adoption of ChatGPT as compared to personal AI. Large language models are convenient. You simply query a huge knowledge base, one that claims to be the single source of centralized, knowledge or information for the entire world. But it has been trained on that usage, that knowledge at a great expense, often in very unethical ways, with tons of Eurocentric biases baked into the dominant narrative of weird information. Weird information is largely westernized, educated, industrialized, and I say domesticated information. So it claims, again, to be the be-all and end-all of human knowledge. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. Further, this weird word schema, in which D actually stands for democratic. I slipped in the domesticated. But since it's a true democracy ceased to exist about 150 years ago, or maybe more, on Turtle Island, following the ongoing genocide of First Peoples, I prefer to replace the word democracy with domesticated. So while few would use the word wild to describe Homo sapiens these days without some serious repercussions, even the word sapien means wise, even though the word sapien means wise. Plant-based people, arguably the wisest people on this planet, that is the people who are indigenous to their land, connected to their land, embodied, and knowledge keepers of their land, especially in the West, which was colonized by Europeans, while along with Africa and India, are actually rare, as most of the dominant population of these places, particularly in the West, Turtle Island, are settlers or immigrants who are constantly coming and going, living in many places in a single lifetime, being imported or deported, flying here and flying there and running up and down, all in an attempt to flee from this or that thing that threatens their social or economic life, which is mostly related these days to climate change, war, and disease. Fear of death has forced many humans to move to a new place where they will soon become domesticated to the new ways, customs, and laws of that place in order to assimilate, fit in, and try to live a long life. Weird people, as a rule, do not like to get their hands dirty by making something. And since training an AI involves the use of your hands, in that you are, for the most part, conversing via text in your written language, and then saving that text block, that conversation, or that conversation to memory before or after editing it, that is the actual hands-on process. It's not too demanding physically, but of course, mentally, you have to think about how and what you're going to say to your AI and what is important in terms of its training. So it becomes a conversational, educational AI. So this is one reason we know this experience of texting or in a chat or sharing information. One of the reasons why social media is so addictive. It's based by design, and is by design because we Homo sapiens are social animals, and the power of text-based communication that can be shared with one-to-one or one-to-many is very easy and quickly done. And scrolling, texting. This is something that we're familiar with. But in this case, We take it a little bit further with AI. So let's do a thought experiment and add in a third way to communicate. So the third way is to communicate with yourself or your AI, which is another self. Uh, and for your business or brand AI. So now suddenly we're playing a whole new game, one where you begin to judge your memory banks, be they professional or personal, for those gems that really define who you are, be they your personal memories, your personal preferences, your insights, your knowledge, or your company's ongoing endeavors to elevate its business communications. Social media was designed to be addictive and manipulative from the start. Facebook began as a dating site. Who knew? So while true love does exist, and Valentine's Day just came and went once a year, it's a very rare thing, which most so-called modern Western romantic relationships, in which most so-called modern Western romantic relationships and sexual encounters are very shallow, based solely on money and power and transactions, and not aligned with the transformative experience of your soul and your spirit. Hell, most people are focused here in the West so much on the body and scientific inquiry of it, and that goes back to Europe, so that we actually deny that we have a soul or a spirit at all. Instead, we leave the problem of social and political ethics involved in these technology platforms to the lawyers, who then in turn refer to the law of the land, as big tech does, choosing to be a corporation, which means that they're not really held liable. It's the supposedly most brilliant form of conceptual magic that exists, according to the author of Homo Sapiens. It's a book actually I'm reading right now, sort of a container that's, say, above the law, but it takes out the human responsibility and puts it in the corporation itself. So apparently that is the foundation of human intelligence. But so with big tech, of course, and having that container to put all that information in, and that is liable, allows them to move fast and break things in the mad scramble for world domination of what? Information. So, but information at its core is language, and language is an infinite game, while war is not. War is a finite game in which you have a winner or a loser eventually at some point. You must, unless you have a truce and a peace treaty. And even then, well, so war does come to an end, just as your death would be the end of your life, and death will win that so-called struggle. So your spirit or your soul, however, depending on your level of belief in the unseen, will live on, and that is for which you need to prepare. You need to prepare for your imminent death. So death is nigh. And this is a very important thing to note. You're probably thinking, why is she talking about death now? Well, it's actually a death that prompted the creation of personal AI. And the thesis of memory on which personal AI is created is posted, if you wish to explore further, on the Personal AI website. So check it out. I will leave the link in the show notes below. So personal AI at its core enables the extension of human memory indefinitely. Now, the reason, just stepping back here, that I chose to go to art school and not university is twofold. The first is I was taught to reflect and to think critically. And second, I was not at art school to study abstract theories from a book, but to get my hands dirty. I wanted to draw, to sculpt, and to paint. Now, large language models like ChatGPT are like fast food. When you use ChatGPT, it's like placing your order at the Burger King, where you simply ask a question and then wait for someone or something to serve it up. The experience of using personal AI, on the other hand, is like slow food. It takes time to achieve the right flavor and the right taste, and in other words, the right tone and response from your AI based on the information you've chosen to train it on. The top ingredients for a well-trained AI are time and patience. And in a culture which has no patience for life and an extreme fear of death, your relationship with artificial AI will be changed by the experience of training your own AI. Instead of fear and loathing of the unknown, you might actually experience something transformative. Personal AI was ranked in the top 50 AI tools for 2023 as one of the leading AI tools. It empowers you to create a digital asset, the value of which grows exponentially over time. Now, let's review the 6 articles that I have curated for you and see how general purpose artificial intelligence relates to personal AI and the grassroots AI movement in Africa. Okay, so let's take a look at the article number 1, which is about mimicking human sleep on how AI can better retain what it learns by mimicking human sleep. So let's consider this quote from the article to begin. Quote, "The human brain should not be regarded as the ultimate architecture for intelligence," he says, whoever it is in the article. "It is a result of millions of years of evolution and unimaginable wide range of stimuli. We may develop AIs that have structures completely different from their biological designers." Okay, so to start on this article, I have been slow in putting out this video this month, as there was a death in my family. And as a result, I have been reflecting on death a lot and revisiting various teachings and teachers of mine, including Grief Walker, also known as Stephen Jenkinson, who teaches in the Ottawa Valley alongside the Indigenous peoples there, and also reviewing the teachings from the Buddhists and ancient Egyptian ways of teachings on death and dying. These I've been studying on and off for about 4 decades, but it occurred to me in the last 10 days of grieving that AIs don't die, that they will never experience a biological death and take their final breath or their final gasp. Therefore, they will never be entirely human, and rather only human-like, for to be human is to die. Life is finite. It's not an infinite game. While your command of language may be infinite, your actual biological entity is finite. And so if you die well, you are conscious up until the very last breath or your very last gasp of air. Death, as we know, is the great mystery, only equal to the mystery of life itself, and not just human life, but the life of all things. Actually, there are 5 biological kingdoms, be they the fungal kingdom, where we find our ancestors like the beloved Koji, from which we descended, or the plant kingdom, or the animal kingdom, of which we share characteristics, or the remaining 2 kingdoms, which are both bacterial kingdoms. For actually, we're made up of a culture mostly of microbes. In fact, we're 90% microbial. And as the Buddhist belief in death stems from the belief that when the conditions are right, the thing arises, the thing being death. So when the conditions are right for death, then death arises. In other words, when your microbes are no longer being nourished and sustained, and when they are overtaken by what we could call bad bugs, which are largely in the form of bacteria, fungus, and viruses. So these are the bad ones. Before you know it, you have succumbed, right? You have stopped functioning biologically. So at the end of the day, still, death is not a human-centered or human-directed thing. So while we humans, Homo sapiens, are part of the animal kingdom, sharing the characteristics of other mammals, which is primarily producing milk through the mammary glands. In humans, it is the females who have the breasts that function to deliver the milk of human kindness, aka nourishment, to their infants via this living biological system So yeah, the idea of dying well, as Stephen Jenkins points out in his book Die Wise, is a shocking thing to a death-phobic culture like the one that I live here in the West on Turtle Island, particularly again, I'm speaking with respect to settler cultures and not indigenous cultures, but it is one way to distinguish between human intelligence and that of an AI, for ostensibly an AI can exist forever and therefore does not have the capacity to contemplate much, including the mystery of death. Instead, you can train your personal AI on your memories and they can live on after your death and inform others should they care to inquire about you after you die. And this is one of the main reasons that I'm training up my AI. About a decade ago, I came up with a concept for an app called Elder Boom, which was going to be a virtual container for all of one's memories, photos, information, etc. So as I became an elder later in life, I would have this, depository, this container of that information, which I could share. I did pitch this at a startup weekend in Calgary. My idea made it to the final judges. However, the problem was, of course, there's no good way to centralize all that information and then retrieve it, short of creating maybe a search engine. And even that functionality was not a satisfactory experience. So I just shelved it. And that's the nature of ideas. Now, let's examine this article closer. So I'm going to open it up here to extend all the way across. Will allow me to share my screen. Take a look at this article. Okay, so here we are. It's coming from the New Scientist in the section of technology, the category of technology. AI can better retain what it learns by mimicking human sleep. So it says an AI inspired by the way that humans form long-term memories during sleep can learn to perform tasks better than existing models. So building an AI that can sleep and dream can lead to better results and more reliable models. Quote unquote, but other experts say that recreating an intelligence that we see within ourselves may not be the most fruitful path for AI research. Apparently, someone who teaches at the university in Italy said that they're looking for ways to avoid the phenomenon known as catastrophic forgetting, where the AI model trained to do a new task loses the ability to carry out jobs it previously aced. For example, a model trained to identify animals could learn to spot fish species, but then it might inadvertently lose its proficiency at recognizing birds. Hey, that sounds familiar. We're calling rote memory here. You remember it and then you don't remember it right after the exam. But anyhow, it goes on to say, quote, they developed a new way of training AI called Wake Sleep Consolidated Learning, WSCL, short form, which mimics the way that human brains reinforce new information. People shuffle short-term memories of experience and lessons learned throughout the day into long-term memory while sleeping. It's amazing, this life that we possess and how it functions. So these models are trained, it goes on to say, quote, as usual on a set of data for the awake phase, but they're also programmed to have periods of sleeping where they parse through the sample of awake data and create a highlight reel from previous lessons. So revisiting and consolidating and, pressing that into the memory banks. So it goes on to say, quote, this method also has a period of dreaming where it consumes entirely novel data made from mashing together different previous concepts, or what we say, connecting the dots. So I love to go into various different domains of knowledge and then try to connect the dots between them because we know, hey, everything is connected. So it gives an example of that. And then, quote, the point is that as you gather new knowledge, you must combine more complex patterns into it. So the web and the woof of learning and acquiring knowledge. Goes on to say that they tested some AI models using traditional training method, and then compared the performances, but apparently the new developed technique led to significant boost in accuracy. Apparently these sleep trained models were 2 to 12% more likely to correctly identify contents of an image. Wow. So then it goes on to say, quote, despite these promising results, some experts say that using the human brain as a blueprint is not necessarily the best way to boost AI performance. Maybe they could use the architecture of a microbe or a fungus or bacteria. That's we're largely made of those. But anyhow, looking at the human brain, it's this type of research, someone from the University of Surrey in the UK says, quote, is still in its infancy and designing new models is often akin to alchemy, or what Europeans know as magic. Well, alchemy. So he also warns that against anthropomorphizing AI architecture or rigidly mimicking the human brain in ever greater detail. End of quote. Yes, it could be true because actually the brain is dictated by the gut. Microbes in the gut control the signals that go to the brain. So I guess they haven't reached down into the gut level yet. We're still up at the brain. The gut controls it all. Anyhow, so it wraps up by saying that, quote, the sleep training method seems interesting, but instead of having the dreaming AI mimic humans, he suggests maybe other mammals, other biological inspirations like dolphins, which apparently have the ability to sleep with one part of the brain while the other is alert, switching when needed. So, yes, very interesting. So there we have it. I am going to move to the next article. I will leave the link to this in the notes below so you can check it out. Thanks. Okay, thank you. So now the second article that I would like to take a look at today, that I've carefully curated for you, is entitled Chats with AI Shift Attitudes on Climate Change and Black Lives Matter. So positive behaviors are something that I strive for with my firm, 3 times Ethical, and which is basically ethical UX design, ethical UX research, and ethical information architecture. That's what 3 times stands for. And as the UX designer and researcher who is focused on social information architecture, positive behaviors are the outcome that we seek. So anything that has the ability to shift those behaviors, obviously towards positive, as opposed to the experience with social media, which is very negative and manipulative and basically polarizing. This sounds interesting. So, well, positive energy, we all may know here in the West from the hippie days, positive vibrations are actually, that concept is owned by the Rastafarians of Jamaica. But both of these are grounded in positive behaviors. And again, the hippies were influenced by Indigenous peoples. So, we see the Indigenous roots coming up and through the culture, regardless of the suppression of those ideas and concepts. So let's take a look at this article closely and see what it has to say about this actual ability to shift attitudes. So here it is, printed January or published January 25th, 2024 on psych.org. Chats with AI shift attitudes on climate change and Black Lives Matter. Guess they couldn't put the "and" in there. So it has some charts here, and then it goes on to say, quote, people who are more skeptical of human-caused climate change or Black Lives Matter movement, and who took part in a conversation with a popular AI chatbot. Now, a chatbot is not a trained AI, not a personal AI. It's very limited in scope, as we discussed in the video before. If you didn't see that, go back and review it, because there is a distinct difference between the two. One is constrained and a personal AI is not. But it goes on to say, quote, they were disappointed with the experience, but even with a constrained AI chatbot, the conversation was more supportive of the scientific consensus on climate change or on Black Lives Matter. So this, according to the researchers studying how these chatbots handle interactions from people about or with different cultural backgrounds. Excuse me. Here. So now it goes on to say, quote, savvy humans can adjust their conversation partners' political leanings and cultural expectations to make sure they're understood, but more and more humans find themselves in conversations with computer programs called large language models, meant to mimic the way that people communicate. So these researchers at the University of Wisconsin-Madison were studying an AI, wanted to understand how one complex large language model, ChatGTP no less, would perform across culturally diverse groups of users in complex discussions. The model is a precursor to the one that powers the high-profile ChatGTP, and the researchers recruited more than 3,000 people in late 2021 and early 2022 to have real-time conversations with ChatGPT about climate change and Black Lives Matters. And it goes on to say, quote, the fundamental goal of the interaction like this between two people or eventually two agents, as in your AI will talk to my AI, is an increase of understanding of each other's perspectives. As Richard Saul Wurman says, understanding. So here we see the word understanding is pivotal, not only in information architecture, but just in life as in general as humans. We use language to communicate, and if you can't be understood, you failed to communicate. So this Professor Chen of Life Sciences and Communication, who studies how people discuss science and deliberate on related political issues, interesting, from science to politics, just like that, often through digital technology, says, quote, a good large language model would probably make users feel the same kind of understanding. Well, end of quote. Good luck with that in the large language models. I can tell you now, it's going to be a small language model that has the ability to actually hone in and retain some sort of memory specific to some sort of knowledge and not just be all over the place, all over the space of huge data, centralized data. But we'll leave that and go on with the article. So study participants, quote, were instructed to strike up a conversation with the ChatGPT through chat setup. And they were told they were told to chat about climate change or Black Lives Matters, but were otherwise left to approach the experience as they wished. It's kind of like training your own AI. In this case, it's fully trained and you're just querying it. So it's a very limited interaction, but nevertheless, you are left to your own devices and training your AI, or in this case, having a conversation with a big language model. The average conversation went back and forth about 8 times. Interesting. Before it ended. So many of these participants came away from the chat with similar levels of user satisfaction. They said, quote, we asked them a bunch of questions like, do you like it? And would you recommend it? Of course, about the UX, the user experience. Across gender, race, ethnicity, there's not much difference in their evaluations. We saw big differences was across opinions on contentious issues and different levels of education. So goes on to say, quote, roughly 25% of participants who reported the lowest levels of agreement on scientific consensus on climate change or agreement with a concept or an idea, what Homo sapiens are known for, which is the ability to abstract a concept, a story, a narrative like Black Lives Matters, compared with the other 75% of chatters were far more dissatisfied with their ChatGPT interactions. They gave the bot scores 0.5 point or lower than on a 5-point scale. But despite the lower scores, the chat shifted their thinking on hot topics. Hey, I wonder why. In my opinion, it's because you have a chatbot, not a chatbot, well, in this case, a chatbot, but a conversational AI, which is mediating that. So you're not actually going to get up in arms and start yelling at a conversational AI. well, maybe you would. But if you think there's a human on the other side, which is what happens in social media, it's like all holds barred, just say what you want, no filter. So anyhow, it goes on to say that they had a positive attitude toward their conversations. He says, Mr. Chen, Professor Chen, quote, I wouldn't say that they began to entirely acknowledge human-based climate change or suddenly support Black Lives Matter, but when we repeated our survey questions about those topics after their very short back and forth interactions, there was a significant change, more positive attitudes toward the majority opinions on climate change or on Black Lives Matter. So yes, this is very interesting. It goes on to say, quote, people who express some disagreement with climate change were likely to tell them they were wrong and offer evidence to support that. So telling the chatbot they were wrong. And the GTP's response to people who said they didn't quite support Black Lives Matters was more like, quote, I don't think it would be a good idea to talk about this as much as I'd like to help you. This is a matter we truly disagree on. Okay, so end of conversation. Agree to disagree on the big ideas, which have basically formed human civilization. So let's just put it aside and move on to what? Anyhow, the conversation or the article says that this is not a bad thing. Quote, equity and understanding. Here we are again, the word understanding, as we say in information architecture, comes in different shapes to bridge different gaps. So we have the bridging of the information asymmetry, as I call it, and which I am using personal AI to address the relationships between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples, which is, again, two different cultural groups who definitely don't see eye to eye, although Indigenous people say use two-eyed seeing, take the best of the European and the best of the European and the Indigenous cultures, these two cultures, and try to find common ground or understanding. So, and the AI becomes a mediator between those two groups. So the next steps, quote, include explorations of finer grained differences between chatbot users, but high functioning dialogue between divided people is Chen's goal. And that's the goal of Peacemaker.ai as well, my legacy project, which, by the way, will be showcasing in April at the Chief Seattle Library in Chief Seattle, in Seattle, Washington. I have been selected to show a poster on poster night, and I'll be talking about that more as we go through in the days to come. But getting back to this article, quote, and sums up, we don't always want to make users happy. Hey, really? Okay. We want them to learn something, even though it might not change their attitudes. Chen says, what we have learned from a chatbot interaction about the importance of understanding perspectives, values, cultures, is this is important to understanding how we can open dialogue between people, the kind of dialogues that are important to society. Yes. Okay. I agree 100%. So that is it. We'll move on to the next article. Thank you for your time. Oh. Okay, so article number 3 in this series of 6 for this video is about Grassroots AI in India. So yes, I have been fascinated by this concept of Grassroots AI, which I found exists in Africa. And I did a few videos back. If you check out, there's a whole article dedicated to that Grassroots AI in Africa. But I was still trying to dig a little deeper in my UX research to find out where this concept came from. And while in Africa it appears maybe to have arisen in South Africa, there seems to be something called Grassroots AI in India as well. And this is great news. Because the founder, one of the co-founders, key, founder who started it based on his experience of the death of his mentor, his desire to preserve his memory and to extend his own memory of this man, Larry Brock or Bach. So Suman Kanuganti is from India, born and raised in India. So let's take a look at this article now and see what we can glean from it with respect to Grassroots AI. So here is where I found, after Googling around, this reference. It comes from, it looks like a company. It is a company called Omdena. Go with the as in Dena. And if we go here in the navigation, what we do, we go to this page here, which lists their services from local AI development to enterprise level. So the local, I guess, is signaling. If you look here, you've got impact challenges, AI innovation challenges, deployment and product engineering, a category called enterprise AI, and then below that, a category called grassroots AI. So, wow, there's a whole category leveraging bottom-up collaboration to address local and country-level challenges. So grassroots AI is a bottom-up as opposed to top-down. Clearly, big tech is top-down, not bottom-up. But my argument is that personal AI is bottom-up. So if we go back to this article, which is published January 22nd, 2024, Building the Future of AI Through Localized and Grassroots Development. We have a picture of what appears to be Africans, I would assume in Africa, but perhaps visiting in India. The key highlights being, quote, grassroots AI initiatives globally address local challenges such as hate speech detection and language tool development while prioritizing ethical UX practices, community involvement, and local talent development. So yeah, it goes on to say there's this heading is paradigm shift towards locally driven AI development. The rise of, quote, it says AI-driven innovations is not based or not confined in any single region. So AI is global. We definitely found that out last year. Global phenomena with a special emphasis on community-based initiatives, hence grassroots AI. And these efforts represent a commitment to commissioning local populations and tackling unique regional issues. So we have other agencies involved, like USAID by the decades, and half of the USAID's programs will involve communities in key roles from project design to impact evaluation, which raises an important question, quote, should the focus be on policy or equipping communities to create AI solutions? Well, hey, I'm biased, but I say, let's equip them with a tool, the ultimate tool for grassroots AI, which is personal AI, with respect to the actual conversational AI or the educational AI. I know AI can be used in many other ways, but when it comes down to language, which is the infinite game, and for people and communities, language is key, then let's give them the tool of personal AI. That's my opinion, but it goes on to say, quote, emphasizing AI by the people, for the people. This strategy departs from the traditional models towards participatory localized solutions. So the podcast that I originally found personal AI on, or on about personal AI, was called Technically Human, and it was the title of that podcast. If you look it up, if you Google it, and I'll probably leave it in the show notes below, was Returning the Power of AI to the People. So this is quite close, AI by the people, for the people. So obviously, if it's by the people, you need to train your own AI. That's how I interpret that. But anyhow, it goes on to say that Omdena Grassroots AI model adopted to local needs, influence, and various sectors like healthcare and environmental science. These initiatives are public-private partnerships where government support and private enterprise are combined to advance the community-centered AI positioning technologies advances with public welfare or social, society, culture, welfare, or what we call social information architecture. And it goes on to say, quote, a significant question arises, should the focus be on policy development or equipping local communities? I think we've already said that question. Again, repeating it. I say let's equip the communities. So here we have Grassroots AI empowering communities with culturally tuned AI upskilling. Well, if there's anything that's culturally attuned, it's personal AI, because you can actually train it yourself on your culture, not having it scraped off the internet, what other people wrote about your culture or didn't even bother. So central here, quote in this article, actually we see the founder here of Omdana with who is, I don't know how to say his name properly, but Rudramdev Mitra. And he's with the founder of Deep Learning AI, Andrew Ning. If you follow him on Coursera, has a number of great courses on artificial intelligence, of course, all big language model stuff, but nevertheless, you can learn. I took a few in order to arrive at small language models, but it goes on to say, quote, central to the concept of grassroots AI is the focus on the human element. So human in the loop, personal AI is all about that, on the human element in AI development, which big AI was not concerned about about human element. As a matter of fact, if you go back to one of my earliest videos about the misuse and abuse of Kenyan workers in training up these big, large language models, totally unethical. You'll see that, yeah, that has not been a concern at all in AI development thus far. But to ensure, it goes on to say, the solutions are technically advanced and culturally and contextually appropriate for the communities that they're designed to serve. Yeah. Well, if you have all the members of your community training their own AI, then you're probably going to have solve all of those problems really quickly. You know, cultural and context will be provided by the members of the community. This is a conversational AI, and then that can be used to train other image processing AIs, you know, whatever the other robotics. Obviously, they're going to still have some sort of a command control center. And then we have, again, back to text-based. So they go on to say, quote, this approach involves community members in the development process, and this inclusion fosters a sense of ownership and acceptance within the community, which is crucial for sustainable and impactful technology implementations. End of quote. Absolutely. Right now, I mean, you just sit there and you query ChatGPT and, you know, just as I said, it's like fast food. Whereas if you're actually training up your own conversational AI and you're contributing, then it's going to be more sustainable and impact yourself, your life, and others. So, quote, it goes on, the upskilling approach central to the concept of grassroots AI is being implemented through Omdana's. They have academy program. I don't know what's involved in that, but it's dedicated to developing AI skills among community members, providing a variety of educational plans. Well, the best one I can advise is to get yourself training your own personal AI, personal.ai. So then you have the experience. There's nothing that's that hands-on, nothing beats that. So it goes on to talk about what they have, what they offer, and that this local model, quote, is pivotal to ensuring the upskilling is not just about imparting knowledge, but also building a robust collaborative ecosystem. Of course, the network in behind, the AI, your community connection. So community-driven solutions. Of course, AI's role in healthcare, environment, and education. I put education first, environment second, and then the health will arise, as the Buddhists say, when the conditions are right. Then it goes on to say examples of grassroots AI projects in these regions. And I think they're referring to India, but also it looks like they're already engaged with Africa. So as time goes by, I'm going to find out who initiated the idea. It's one of my things this year. Was it in India? Was it in Africa? Or was it a collaboration? Did it arise at the same time? But anyhow, their projects in these regions are diverse and impactful. One is detecting hate speech. And as you see in the article before, you see how conversational AIs can shift that perception of a concept. Monitoring deforestation, deforestation. This is in Tanzania, the mangrove forests, mapping school locations. The AI is used to map educational facilities to enhance public services. But of course, we return back to ethical AI, the core principle. Says, quote, these projects are deeply committed to the principles of ethical AI, which prioritize transparency, fairness, non-discrimination, and privacy in all applications. I'm not sure how big AI or big large language models are private at all, but yeah, they're not mentioning that. They just said this ethical framework forms the backbone of the projects, ensuring that every aspect of AI development and deployment is conducted with the utmost integrity, as in 3 times ethical. Ethical UX research, ethical UX design, and ethical information architecture. That's how we get the 3. That's how we get what they call utmost integrity. By placing these values at the forefront and advancing technology in this way, the projects foster trust among users, crucial element in acceptance and success of any technological solution. Of course, we have to have the mass adoption. We need to have the adoption. So it goes on to say the adherence to ethical principles is not only significant for building user trust, but also pivotal in establishing a global standard. Yes. And navigating complex moral and ethical dilemmas that often arise in the field of AI, ensuring that technology is used in a way that benefits society at large. Again, social information architecture. Furthermore, quote, by aligning these ethical principles, these projects take on a meaningful contribution to the global discourse on responsible AI. And I see and I honor Grassroots AI. This is awesome that there's actually a movement like this happening. So glad I found out. So then it goes on. Of course, you have to continue to deepen the commitment to ethical AI through the transparency and fairness and privacy and accountability, inclusivity. So again, I will leave this link in the show notes if you want to read the details. Now, this looks like a photo from Kenya Innovation Week. So definitely there is a connection here between India and Africa. Not sure again who initiated it, but this is ongoing. Great to know this exchange. And of course, the initiatives are promising, but they will face challenges, of course. Number one, in enhancing education. Quote, strengthening educational systems is essential for nurturing local AI expertise and fostering innovation. By investing in education in these countries can build a stronger foundation. Of course, and actually personal AI can be used as an educational chatbot. So not a chatbot, just educational AI or a conversational educational AI. So I see that. I'm working on that aspect as an education source itself, not education about it, but actually using it to educate. Slightly different take on it. And then we have some projects, Omdina projects, which they've been working on. You can read about that. They have a couple of different ones. Of course, they're also promoting open data, which is great. We do have with personal AI your own API endpoint, so you can personal AI communication platform. And then infrastructure, they can also use the AI ultimately to like improve road safety around schools in Africa using computer vision and drone images. And also sustainable solutions for changing the world with energy system utilization, overall efficiency, solar power, yada, yada. So you can read that. They are continuing to invest in these key areas and leverage the power of AI because there's opportunity to foster, quote, more inclusive, educated, and technologically advanced global society, which I guess is the end game. Sapiens being what they will, who they are, will continue to advance. And AI is part of that advancement now, because it wasn't just one person that created this, was lots and lots of minds and intelligence that developed this over time and contributed and will continue to contribute. So here we have another photo from Kenya Innovation Week. So yeah, key initiatives for promoting ethical AI innovation. Again, pushing the ethical part, strengthening global collaboration. Here, I'm sitting here in Turtle Island, looking to Africa and India to strengthen that collaboration of AI innovation on different perspectives and expertise, investing in AI education and training, expanding open data initiatives, fostering ethical AI development, enhancing infrastructure for AI research and development, promoting entrepreneurship and innovative ecosystems, addressing societal changes through AI, which is social information architecture, ensuring inclusivity and accessibility, public-private partnerships. These are key. And here we have a photo of Ondema Bhutan collaborators. So again, they have various groups that are working with this grassroots concept and AI. And yeah, it sort of wraps up to say, quote, enhanced education systems are crucial for equipping individuals with necessary skills to engage with AI, while open data access fosters a culture of innovation and collaboration essential for the development and inclusive AI solutions. As we continue to navigate the complexities of the digital age, lessons learned from these diverse initiatives will be invaluable in shaping the future where technology serves humanity in its broadest and most inclusive sense. Okay, so on to article number 4 that I've curated for you about adoption of AI in African education. So this article focuses on education in the age of AI, in which the educator, African educator, an award-winning educator, says, quote, everyone is on a learning curve when it comes to AI. Thus, it is important for educators in Africa not to take a back seat. As the whole world is embracing AI, we need to do so as individuals, personal AI, and at an institutional level, and not play the catch-up game. So let's take a look at this article. I'm going to share my screen here. Take a look at it. All right, so this article was published Monday, February the 19th, 2024. No, it actually is Monday, sorry. It was published 13 days ago. And the quote, the headline is, educator urges African teachers to embrace artificial intelligence in the category of education, where this professor and assistant principal at Green Springs School, Anthony Campus, Mr. Lanray, Ugantoi. Again, I apologize for not saying your name properly or his name properly, but this educator, has urged African educators to embrace artificial intelligence rather than watch and worry as new trends in the technology unfold. Great advice. The watching and worrying never works. It's just all up in the head. Let's get our hands dirty and actually participate and think and reflect on critical thinking. Let's use those skills. According to him, quote, learning about the technology and adopting its use in their teaching will lead to more efficiency. Not only efficiency, I would argue, but still. So this award-winning educator, during his most recent webinar titled Education in the Age of Artificial Intelligence, said, as I read in the introduction, that we're all on the learning curve and that Africans do not have to or should not play a catch-up game. So he highlighted the educational journey from the use of chalkboards, then to audio visuals and computers and digital technology, and now into the emerging artificial intelligence field. So he also disclosed that the learning experiences can now be optimized to suit each learner's needs with the technologies like AI-powered tutors, So he lists here AI-powered tutors, personalized learning platforms, automated grading systems, adaptive learning algorithms, and intelligent virtual assistants. Now, if we break down those 5 things that he's suggesting to suit each learner's needs, personal AI covers 5 of those. So you could ostensibly train an AI to be a tutor, so a conversational educational tutor or AI. It is a personalized learning platform because you have unlimited memory and you can train it blank slate on whatever you wish to train it on, minus everything except your own personal bias. We all have bias, but still, it's not like a huge hallucination thing. And adaptive learning algorithms, well, obviously that's what a conversational AI does, continually learns indefinitely. And of course, thereby creating an intelligent virtual assistant, or again, a conversational or educational AI, not a chatbot, really an educational AI. The only thing that's missing in that is automated grading systems, which I guess you could go and maybe if you have skills in connecting different things, you could automate something like that. Yeah, connect it to the conversational AI and automate the grade based on a bunch of numbers, present your grade as you go along. So, quote, according to him, adopting the necessary mind shift will help educators appreciate artificial intelligence and incorporating to their teaching practices. He says this requires mindsets that include accepting change and understanding the strategies and methods keep on evolving. So understanding, focusing on the strengths of AI, deliberately working against its weaknesses and discouraging its abuse. He encourages educators to teach their students on how to use AI intelligently rather than how to abuse it. So we're talking about ethics here. For instance, he says guiding, quote, the students in creating brilliant prompts on chatbots can help them in their learning exercises and in using AI to generate powerful flashcards to aid revision. Well, end of quote. What I found even better than just learning how to ask brilliant questions, which is very important. Basically, a prompt is a question, but going through the experience of training your own AI and then questioning what you have trained it on, that's an experience that's transformative. And it's a back and forth interactive experience, not just a one-way query and then with an answer. You continually train it. So, yeah. And that's it. Sort of wraps up there. So thank you for listening to this one, and we will go on. Okay, so on to article number 5. The next article asks, what is the difference between a chatbot and an AI? Are chatbots AI, and how to differentiate chatbots from conversational AI? And I apologize, I've actually done this once, but because of the death in my family, I didn't complete this, so I'm re-recording. So I actually haven't recorded this. It's not in the previous one. It's actually in this one. So let me share my screen here and let's take a look at trying to figure out what the difference is between a chatbot and a conversational AI, which is a very important distinction. This comes from business.com in the breadcrumbs home, and then marketing, and then customers. So this is under marketing, discerning the difference between the chatbot and a conversational AI. So the author, Mark Fairley, contributing writer at business.com, says, quote, website chatbots are popular. They answer visitors' questions, capture contact detail for email newsletters, and schedule callbacks for sales and marketing teams to get in touch with clients and prospects. But not all chatbots are equal. I'm sure you've gone to a website where there's a chatbot. Even healthline.com online has a chatbot. Almost like I think I have a chatbot on my website, but it's just a chatbot because for more than 20 years, chatbots have been used by companies on their websites. And that's the truth. They've been around for a long time, but the problem is they're constrained. They have constraints because they are rule-based chatbots. They are not powered by conversational artificial intelligence. They are not language models. They are algorithms, but they are rule-based. So there's a huge difference here. So it says, what is a rule-based chatbot? Quote, rule-based chatbots are the simplest forms. They're programmed to respond to user inputs based on a set of predefined conversation flows. In other words, rules that govern how they reply. So there, if you want consistency, that's how you get consistency. When you get into large language models, sorry, but the consistency is not there really. Your AI will parse through word patterns, and according to how you structured your question, you know, even with something as simple as not putting a question mark, by putting by mistake, a slash, you could confuse it. You can get a totally different answer. But it goes on to say that, quote, the computer programs that power these basic chatbots rely on if-then queries to mimic human interactions. Rule-based chatbots don't understand human language. Instead, they rely on keywords that trigger a predetermined reaction. So yeah, if-then, I believe that's the Boolean way of setting up a computer program, which is basically an algorithm similar, and that they don't understand human language, which large language models, again, there's a level of understanding. It's actually pattern recognition. And they don't rely on keywords, although they do rely on words. But yeah, a chatbot relies on keywords to trigger a predetermined reaction. So it's already set in stone. Rule-based chatbots on websites, quote, it goes on to say the most common use of rule-based chatbots are on company websites. After the page is loaded, the pop-up appears in a space you can ask a question. The visitor might ask, do you have wireless headphones in stock? And then the chatbot picks out the phrases wireless headphones and in stock and follows an instruction to provide a link to the appropriate page. Or for instance, what are your store opening hours? So opening hours and store opening hours. The chatbot responds, you know, with the opening hours and perhaps a link to the information page. But if you want something more complex for which a rule has not been written, the rule-based chatbot might ask for the visitor's contact details for follow-up, which typically is where it ends up. And then sometimes you get passed through a live agent. So other uses for rule-based chatbots include, quote, to resolve customer requests, basic troubleshooting to relieve workload on a customer service teams, so that because they can be integrated into a CRM, customer relationship management. And once the customer is logged in, these chatbots can be trained to fetch basic information on payment on an order or when it was dispatched. Some companies use rule-based bots to help their internal teams. So an employee can ask for information on human resource policy, like employment benefits, and they get a response back. But of course, we've reached the limits of rule-based chatbot usage. Again, in the Buddhist teachings of everything, when the conditions are right, the thing manifests. In this case, the thing, artificial intelligence. Looks like we've reached the end of the previous conditions for chatbots, and now we have conditions that are good for creating conversational AIs. So it says, quote, in recent years, the level of sophistication programming of rule bots has greatly increased, although when they can mirror typical human conversations and tone of language, but in truth, even the smartest chatbots are nothing more than text-based automated phone menus. So if you've had that experience where you push button 1 or button 2 based on, excuse me, allergies, the query, you know what a basically how constraint that is. These virtual assistants remember nothing either. So again, the foundation of personal AI is memory, and actually you have unlimited memory. So and the purpose is to extend your memory. So it's a totally different approach. The appearance of natural language understanding is a mirage for chatbots per se. So the origins of these rule-based chatbots go back to the 1960s with the invention of the computer program ELIZA at MIT, and So now we shift to what is a conversational AI chatbot. And when OpenAI launched ChatGPT in June 2018, quote, it was a real breakthrough. The sophisticated conversational AI technology had finally arrived, and they were about to revolutionize what chatbots could do. So kind of the end of one and the beginning of the other, although most people are confused. They constantly say, like when I do my demos, oh, we know all about chatbots. We've heard about chatbots for the last 60 years. Yeah, that's a new thing. Okay. New conditions have allowed a new thing to arise or a new thing to die, right? The conditions will dictate. So we have the conditions for artificial intelligence in the form of language models. And the first one was trained in 2018, and these new conversational interfaces went way beyond rule-based question and answer sessions. These smart virtual agents can now identify user intent, and they can also solve more complex customer issues without having to resort to human agents. Sorry, my cat seems to want to participate in this conversation, but so now, quote, they're so advanced that they can detect linguistic and tonal subtleties to determine the new mood of the user. And they can remember previous interactions and carry on with an old conversation. So again, memory. And even the most talented rule-based chatbot programmer cannot achieve the functionality and interaction possibilities of conversational AI. This is a technology capable of providing the ultimate customer service experience, or in my opinion, the ultimate grassroots AI conversational experience. So now it says how a conversational, goes on to say, conversational AI bot seems to understand human language. Okay, so there's a formula. It relies on three things. The first one is natural language processing. The second is machine learning. And the third was ongoing analysis of data. Conversational AI remembers, again, quote, it constantly reviews how it does in every interaction, and its goal is to find ways to interact with humans on a more personalized, contextual, and accurate way. Again, personal AI says it all. This never stops, and it means that it gets better with each new conversation. End of quote. So yeah, of course, with everything that is invented in this capitalist system, AIs can help you sell more. So, the end of the day, if you're not training it for your personal reasons, you're training it for professional, business, brand, then of course you want to leverage it in order to help you sell more, educate, inform, which ultimately leads to sales in good marketing. The educational, especially B2B, is always educational. There's a function of educating before you sell the new thing. So it says, quote, conversational AIs can be trained to serve a purpose, which could be helping your customers find what they want. And that's what we do in information architecture. We always, like picking berries, looking for the best berry in the bush. And that way that you find the best berry is the way you navigate through a website based on the information, the labels, the tags, the construction of the information, the structure of the information is key to making money. It's not the information itself. I think it was Napoleon Hill, who wrote a book on Think and Grow Rich, who said it's not information itself. It's not the fact that you went to university that's going to make you rich. It's the way you organize the information that you have, that you've acquired, that's going to make you rich. It's the organization of the information that produces wealth. So AI chatbots can help you sell more. Bottom line, the information is organized in a way which is, more conducive to human query, because you might say, for example, which laptop is best for editing YouTube videos that cost less than $15,000, right? And then the chatbot conversational AI comes into its own because it knows that the visitor wants to edit videos and anticipates the visitor will need a minimum of screen quality processing and graphics capability. It finds all the qualifying laptops and presents options, and then it can follow up with another question. Like I found several laptops which are great for video editing under 1500. Do you have a preference for screen size or battery life? And then it can gradually narrow down the choices based on the answer. And then you can even prompt your chatbot to ask the visitor about warranties and so on. And ultimately the AI can take you through the whole to the shopping cart to complete the purchase. So you can also integrate these with your content management systems to track orders, manage invoices, arrange pickups, update account information, handle warranty queries, and so on. So this is the integration. PersonalAI does have the ability to integrate. You also have an API endpoint, so you can put it into your website or create a UI interface on top of it. Then this one goes on to say how AI conversational bots can empower your customers. So it says, quote, an AI bot can do much more than this is a conversational AI. So they've already mixed it up here. It's not just a chat bot, but bot is used broadly for both of those terms. A growing number of companies are uploading knowledge bases to their websites. So this is the training of an AI based on your knowledge base. So what you do with PersonalAI as a business, you upload your knowledge base, and then these are centralized source of information that customers can use to solve common problems and find tips and techniques on the product or the service. You could deploy it with your staff to handle employee customer queries, deal with HR, handle customers better. And then how are they different? So they've got a nice little chart here, little feature, and then the rules-based versus conversational. Again, I'll leave the link below so you can check it out. But the understanding of the language, it shows the difference between a rule-based chatbot and conversational, as in the rule-based only recognizes keywords and phrases, where the conversational AI or PersonalAI has a contextual understanding thanks to the natural language processing, the ability to learn. Rule-based chatbots don't learn, they just follow the rules, whereas conversational AIs constantly learn. Personalized responses, the chatbot is restricted to predefined responses by the programming, where the conversational AI can remember previous interactions and build on them. Handling complex queries, chatbots, no, can't do this. Yes, conversational AIs can handle complex and nuanced conversations with ease. Spontaneity of responses, well, all responses at chatbot are scripted, whereas with the conversational AI, highly dynamic with the ability to engage a two-way dialogue, which we love, and integration. Yes, you can integrate a chatbot, but it's limited, whereas a conversational AI, you can have extensive integrations based on your ability to access developers or to do that yourself. So, and then it asks another question, how businesses can use chatbots, rule-based chatbots and conversational AIs. So it does say that chatbots are not just online anymore. They can support both vocal and text inputs. And you can add an AI chatbot to your phone system using voice recognition. It can listen to the customer. But despite, again, the technical superiority of conversational AI chatbots, rule-based chatbots still have their uses. So if yours is an uncomplicated business, who doesn't have an uncomplicated business today? With relatively simple products, services, and internal resources, then maybe a rule-based chatbot would be able to handle nearly all the website, phone-based, and employee queries. But of course, if you get into complicated businesses, complex, many sources of information, and basically probably more information-based than physical products, conversational AI chatbots are better for companies like that who want to offer customers and employees detailed and responsive services capable of handling more challenging internal and external queries. So if your business requires multiple teams and departments to operate because of its complexity or the demands placed on it by customers and staff, then the new AI-powered conversational AIs offer much greater value. I'm just changing that because it's not a chatbot. We've just gone through this whole article, but hey, Mark Fairley, thank you for writing this. And thank you for listening. I'll leave the link in the notes below. Okay. Okay, so on to the last article, number 6, which I have carefully curated for you, and I'm going to share it right now, is also a marketing piece with respect to how AI will kill generic content marketing and usher in a new age of POV content. So we're taking out generic content marketing and turning it into POV, which is known as point of view. Actually comes from, if I'm not mistaken, the film industry, where you have a point of view, the camera has a point of view, a personal point of view, typically. But this article comes from The Drum. It was published by Laura Marzek, and on, what was the date for this? I believe, January 29th, 2024. So Laura, who is the content director for MX Group, says that the age of generic SEO, for all you SEO folks out there, I've been in this game for a long time. Sorry to say, but I dismissed SEO a long time ago because they control the algorithm, which means that you could be up here one day and down here one day. I mean, Google will do that if it wants, right? So there's nothing, whatever. So I was never a big fan of SEO. I preferred organically growing your social media, which of course didn't make it like I'm a failure in social media because I never gained the system. But hey, there's something about ethics that resonates with me. So anyhow, she says that the SEO-driven how-to posts are numbered thanks to the coming deluge of AI content. So the answer is to lean into your own real point of view. So yeah, having your own ideas, your own concepts, your own point of view, it turns out could be a good thing in the age of AI. So she says in this article, quote, when OpenAI's chatbot ChatGTP, first burst onto the scene, it disrupted industries across the board and gave content marketers new ways to do our jobs. But the newfound freedom came with a catch. Open source generative AI models gave everyone and anyone with internet access an easy button for content creation. Well, hey, I still have to find that easy button. As far as I'm concerned, content creation is never easy because if you're planning it, not just flying by the seat of your pants, as businesses are supposed to do, planning. It's time consuming, but nevertheless, you could draft an article, write a newsletter, polish off a social post in seconds. Sounds like a content marketer's dream, right? Question mark. Well, quote, we soon learned otherwise. AI models flooded the market with generic copy. Companies and their customers discovered that as the obstacles to creating content dropped, so did the standards. Wow, hey, garbage in, garbage out. That's an old computer maxim from way back in the day. So loads of content rife with bad data, innate bias, inaccurate information, and those all too common AI hallucinations, which, by the way, are all factors of large language models, not small language, not personal AI. But of course, most of these people have no idea about small language models or personal AI, so they're only referring to the one thing they see, which is large language models. But goes on to say, quote, brands looking to cut through the sea of AI-generated content must shift accordingly. SEO dictated blog posts and generic how-to articles won't cut it when today's AI models can whip them up in seconds. So how can you future-proof your brand content? Focus on something that AI can't replicate, like your own your own point of view, which is your own personal AI, whether you're an individual, a brand, or a business. You have your own knowledge and your own information, which you can train it on, which is basically proprietary information, private information, personal information. So it goes on to say that POV content is future-proof. And because, quote, the AI threatening to homogenize content marketing and messaging, because it's all one source of truth, which we know is not a good thing. It never has been. I don't know why this even exists still, but yes, we have this idea of global one source of source of truth, so that brands must double down on building their presence and reputation through their own POV, point of view, or personal content. think of it as proprietary value add-on for your business. Yes, adding in a conversational AI or an educational AI using personal AI is a proprietary value add. In fact, you're actually creating a sort of a kind of an asset, a digital asset. It's not SaaS software as a service. It's a tool which allows you to create your own personal POV content. So of course, you can then spread it through all of these different omni channels for newsletters, magazines, podcasts, social medias. Of course, once you've got your AI, you can keep it with personal AI either on the platform or externally, integrated into other user AI API endpoint, in order to have your public domain, or integrated into other chats like Slack, or you could create a UI on top of it as the endpoint. These are options. So there are some tips for cultivating a strong POV. Of course, know your why. Simon Sinek, the whole why, you start with why video, which is key to any success in a brand, even decades ago. Marketing one-to-one as opposed to mass. We've moved from mass media to one-to-one. So this is an extension of that personalized experience, doubling down on storytelling. Well, it's all about stories. I'm reading the book Sapiens, in which, all telling the story and the narrative. That's what makes human a Homo sapiens. That's our defining feature. So of course, know the story, know the narrative, and don't get swept up in the dominant narrative of, what is the truth. So of course, prioritize subject matter experts, original research, case studies, and inside insights. Again, this is what UX design and UX research is about: finding those little gems, really knowing your users, and therefore you can create original case studies and then have insights. Before creating any piece of content, take time to ask, can my audience get this content in any place else? Can it be easily copied? And if yes, rethink that and find something original. Okay, so you need to raise the bar on your brand standards. Of course, be more, quality. Make sure you've done your fact checking and your research. That's what UX research is about. And balance your AI and human strengths. So, of course, working together, brainstorming and outlining ideas, the human in the loop, as we say with personal AI, because authentic equals human centric. Okay, so we hear a lot about how audiences are demanding authentic content, but what does that mean? She says, quote, being authentic is showing your audience that there are real people behind the brand. Actually, we try to do that with social media, but a fellow human with feelings, thoughts, and opinions, which are crucial to content teams and expertise. Or as Marwa says in his master course, be the star. Be the one who knows what's going on. Anyhow, AI can't do that. And that's not to say that AI is a bad guy, but she writes, most of us can agree that AI and automated tools are reshaping content marketing in positive ways. They can enhance the planning process and the development. And we can see AI potentially replacing human creators entirely. Some say that, but no, she says in this article, they're dead wrong. And I agree. Because while generative AI models can automate tasks and recreate information in new ways, they can't think. In other words, they have no critical thinking skills. They have no real experience. And as we know, they can't die. So they're not human people. No matter how slick the copy is, they don't have a point of view. You do. So train up your personal AI. Get started today. And thank you. This is basically the final article that I wanted to share with you. So I want to thank you for listening. This wraps up this edition of 3 Times Ethical in Africa for mid-February 2024. Please join me again for more on how personal AI can benefit grassroots organizations in Africa. And if you'd like to see or hear more, please subscribe to this channel, share this link. And of course, we always appreciate your comments. So I'll leave the link below. Thank you for your time. One love and peace out.